Normies truly do live life on easy mode. Compared to those of us with some black pill knowledge or even red pillars, normies really do live life on easy mode. Everything about the way they live, it's a lot easier. And the biggest part of that is because they just aren't capable of having the types of thoughts that will actively degrade a person's life. And I know all about this because I'm not a normie. I'm not a normal person. I never have been and I never could be. And I've thought about why that is a lot. I've thought, is it just because I got into internet culture at such an early age that I just got radicalized into the internet culture and that just prevented me from being a normie? Because that is kind of what I thought it was, what I thought the source of it was for a long time. But as I've thought about it more, I realized it's actually just something genetic. And intelligence isn't it either. It's not just that normies are less intelligent, because there are very intelligent, even genius level IQ normies out there. There are normies out there that have a PhD in theoretical physics, for example, and are making $500,000 a year doing research at Cambridge University or whatever it may be. There are intelligent normies out there. But what differentiates a normie from someone that is not a normie, it's not intelligent, but it does have to do with the capabilities of their brain. And it's what it is whether or not someone is a normie is determined by how capable that person is of questioning the status quo. Okay, so this is what truly defines whether or not a person is a normie or a non-normie. A normie is a person that just accepts the status quo around him. A normie is a person that just believes whatever the popularly held belief is in the society that they live in. And this can be on kind of a micro level, as in, a normie in the deep south in the US is going to have different beliefs as a normie that is growing up in San Francisco, for example, right? Because the cultures of those two places have a lot of differences. Now, with that said, with the increasing centralization of our culture, not only on a national scale, but on an international scale through things like the internet and social media, culture is kind of converging in the same way that regional accents are all kind of merging into one singular accent. It's the same with regional cultures are kind of merging into one monoculture across the entire nation and even across the entire world. So a normie is just a person that truly believes in and holds the same values as whatever values are held by the society that they belong to. Whereas someone that is not a normie, like myself, is somebody that not only is capable of questioning the status quo, but a non-normie is somebody that can't help but question the status quo. Me personally, as a non-normie, when I hear certain things in the mainstream media or hear certain beliefs from people that I've known in real life, if what they say contradicts with my real life experience, with my real life learned knowledge, or it just contradicts with my intuition, then at the very least, I am going to question what they're saying. I'm not just going to take everything at face value. I have to question it. And it's not just that I'm a contrarian person. It's not that I try to question everything I hear. There's no trying to it. I'm not making any attempts here. It just naturally is how it is. When I receive information, something in my brain, something about the way I'm wired genetically, and I think this is from birth because I've always been like this. This is not a learned behavior. When I take in information, somebody says something to me, I hear something on the news or whatever it is, I automatically question that. I'm automatically thinking, okay, why is what they just said bullshit? How is what they just said untrue? What is the way that they are trying to rip me off? Or what is the way that they are misunderstanding the information that they are trying to present to me now? Because I never can trust it. I cannot trust any information that I come across. I always question it. I always question it. And I can't help it. And that leads to, it makes life a lot more difficult. You know, if you just intake information and you just naturally mold yourself to fit in with the monoculture, to fit in with the mainstream society you're surrounded in, which is how a normie lives their life, you know, you don't have any internal struggles. You know, you just watch TV, you turn on MSNBC, and they're saying stuff like, gender is just a social construct, and some people's brains are just born in the wrong body. And if you say this word, it is racist under any circumstances, no nuance needed, no context needed. You know, these are the types of things that when my brain hears things like this, I'm immediately thinking like, what the hell is this? You know, there's something wrong here. It causes a struggle because it's like, I know everybody else just heard that and they just believed it. You know, they just nodded along like, brain, yeah, brain in the wrong body. That makes sense. They have studies that prove it. Yeah, I don't, yeah, I haven't read the study myself. I believe it anyways because science is, believe the science. Yep, trust the science. My brain isn't like that, you know. I'm not living life on easy mode. I'm not normal. I'm not a normie. I don't have a normie brain. I hear this stuff and I'm immediately thinking like, okay, some people's brain born in the wrong body or whatever it is. Something is yada yada is racist, yada yada, whatever. I hear that, I'm immediately thinking like, no. What about the context? What about some nuance? What about all the factors involved? Oh, there's studies that prove that? Let me read the study. Let me not just read the abstract of the study. Let me not just read an article on Pride Month gayhappyhappy.net that says, oh, this study says this. No, I'm reading the actual study. I'll read the actual study behind it. Or what is usually the case, I'm not reading an actual study. I just, if I believe it based on intuition, based on my learned experience, based on my knowledge I've gathered throughout my entire life, if I hear something and it matches with what I believe, then I'll probably just tentatively believe that thing, right? I will believe that thing knowing that, hey, maybe I'm wrong and I could be proven wrong. Or if I hear something that does not match my natural intuition based on all my learned experience throughout my life, if I hear something that I do not naturally believe, then I will tentatively not believe that thing. I will think, you know, a lot of people believe this is true. They say there's studies out there. I don't believe that. Those studies are probably BS. But, you know, maybe someday someone will prove it to me, or I'll actually read the study, or more studies will come out. And then I am willing to change my perspective, to change my viewpoint if that were the case, you know, if I was proven wrong. So, you know, that's kind of the thing, the difference between a normie and a non-normie, how a normie lives their life just on easy mode, you know, you have no internal struggles. How are you going to be depressed if you just accept everything you hear like, yep, that's true. Yep. No, you know, nobody's ever lying to you. Nobody's ever trying to rip you off. There's no conspiracies against your happiness, against your psychological health. None of that. You know, society is just perfect, just chugging along. It's all good. You know, there's no reason to worry. Even if the news and everything you hear is bad, you know, it's still not causing you that much psychological harm because you just accept everything you hear. It's easy. It's easy to believe. It's easy to accept. It's easy to just not question anything you hear. And that is how life is so damn easy for a normie, because normies do not utilize critical thinking. And it's not just that they don't utilize critical thinking, it is that they are not capable of critical thinking. And I know oftentimes people will associate the ability to utilize critical thinking, they will associate that with overall intelligence, but I am certain it is a completely separate thing. It is a completely separate part of the brain that controls your overall analytical intelligence, the type of intelligence that allows you to gain a degree, a PhD in theoretical physics or something. That is completely separate from the part of the brain that controls your ability to utilize critical thinking. Because critical thinking and academic intelligence do not have any correlation. They have nothing to do with each other. There are a lot of very intelligent people that do use critical thinking, and there are a lot of intelligent people that don't do critical thinking at all. They're just totally normies, and they just believe any information that is input into their stupid fucking head. Now, me, as a non-normie, black pill, sub-5 male that actually understands and not only utilizes critical thinking, but is forced by my very nature, by my genetic code, to apply critical thinking to every piece of information that even comes around my vicinity. What do you think that is like for me? You probably know if you're listening to this because you're black-pilled yourself. You're listening to my content, if you're my subscriber or you just found this video, you probably already know exactly everything I'm talking about, and maybe you just, haven't actually verbalized it before. But it sucks, man. It's hard. It makes life hard. It makes life so much more difficult because I am at a constant struggle. I can't just get along with everybody in society. I can do my best, but when I know that everyone around me, because the vast majority, probably 80 to 90% of people are normies that are incapable of critical thought, when I'm around these people, what do you think that's like? It's like I'm alone. I'm an outcast. It's like all these other people are here, but think of it like this. Sometimes I feel like I am the only person when I'm in a crowded place with a lot of other people, because I feel like these people don't use critical thought. These people are barely people. They're more like a robot, they're more like a computer. They just receive input information and then that's it. You input the information and now it's part of them. Whereas me, I'm a little more complex than that, right? I actually have a soul. I'm actually a human being. You input information into my system and some processing happens. Some human processing by the human brain starts happening on that information that was input, and the output may be, or the result of that processing may be that I reject your input. But a normie, the average person, they do not reject any input. They just receive input. They just receive input and they believe. A normie's brain receives and believes. A non-normie black pill brain receives, criticizes, and analyzes that input, and then the result may or may not be a rejection or a belief of that input. It's so much harder not being a normie. It's harder to connect with other people, and that is the main thing, because if it's more difficult to form human connections with people, or, human to robot connection as it may be, but if it's difficult for you to form human connection, which it is if you're a non-normie interacting in a culture, a society of normies, that's going to make everything else in your life more difficult, because human connection is everything. How do most people get their job? It's not based on your qualifications, maybe a little bit, but the way most people get their job is just based on networking. You know somebody whose uncle is hiring for the job, and boom, you got the job because you got the connection. It's not about being the most qualified in most cases. And then, of course, when it comes to dating, romantic relationships, good luck if you're not a normie. I'm sure you've all heard about how, the things that women put in their Tinder profiles or their profiles on Hinge or Bumble or whatever it may be. And if you don't know, you can download any of these dating apps right now and you can look for yourself. Just look at their profiles. If you're in a liberal area, which is basically any big city, because the monoculture is trending toward a more liberal or progressive bent. But when you turn on these dating apps, you start looking at profiles, you notice a large proportion of these profiles say something like, if you're a Trump supporter, then just swipe right or swipe left. I don't know which direction means reject, but They basically say they're not willing to date someone that's not a normie, is basically what it is. You know, if you don't share all of my values and my ideas, which by the way, aren't even specific to me, they're not really mine. I just borrow them from society because I'm a stupid, retarded normie that just believes everything that is input into my stupid, retarded brain. If you don't also just believe everything that's input into your stupid, retarded brain, then you better swipe left. I'm not interested. That's what it's like. And I just spilled my tea all over my shirt because I was getting heated. And you know why I was getting heated? Because my life is hard because I'm not normal. I'm not a normie. I apply critical thought. I'm a critical thinker. And I don't even give a damn that I spilled my drink on me. It is what it is. It's bound to happen. That's just another miserable consequence of my miserable non-normie life. And again, I'm not saying I'm super intelligent or anything. I'm saying it's a whole separate thing. It's separate from intelligence. It's the ability, no, not the ability. It is the unstoppable impulse to question everything you hear, to critically analyze, to think critically about all information you receive. That is something genetic. That is something that is within the soul of the non-normie. And that is something that is not part of the genetic code of a normie, no matter how intelligent they may be. I feel like I'm just repeating myself a lot. I mean, I don't know what more to say. Plus, to be honest, I actually do care that I spilled my drink on my shirt because it doesn't feel good. My clothes are wet now. So yeah, that's going to be it for this video because I need to change my clothes. Thank you.